about 23:30 Central European Time, and you've joined me, Vanessa Warwick, in Phoenix, Arizona, for another location edition of the heaviest show known to Metal Kind. Now, on the 3rd of October, Danzig released their new album, simply titled 4. And we've come to this beautiful open-air amphitheatre in Phoenix to bring you exclusive coverage of the Danzig American Tour. Now that means a rare interview with Glenn Danzig and the rest of the band, and live performances from the headliners and their support act, Type O Negative. Now Danzig will not be touring Europe until June '95, so this is your exclusive source to get the lowdown on 4 from Phoenix, Arizona. It's our US tour special with Danzig, and it's coming at you courtesy of Headbangers Ball. Hi there, welcome back to Headbangers Ball. We're out on the road once again, this time in Phoenix, Arizona, to bring you an exclusive interview with Danzig. We're joining the band on their US tour, and as you can see, I've got Glenn and Eerie joining me here. Welcome to Headbangers Ball, you guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good.
Fine. Wonderful. Feeling good.
Now there's a lot to talk about with Danzig, obviously the new album, new tour, and got to start at the beginning really. And my first question is, you had a little bit of a drummer dilemma after the recording of the 4 album. So could you explain why you parted company with Chuck Biscuits?
It's pretty simple. Chuck had a lot of personal problems and just didn't want to remain in the band. Eventually he quit the band. Then he wanted to rejoin, and we couldn't work out the problems we had with him also. Right. And we just got another drummer. It was as simple as that.
But he has been in the band since the beginning, back in 1988, the first lineup change for Danzig. So how unsettling was it, just even on a personal level, that he was a friend?
Joey kind of stepped right in just like we had planned, you know. We all thought that we'd get somebody and we wouldn't break stride, and we pretty much did that, so there hasn't been much of an adjustment. Personally, you know, we're still friends with Chuck, we still care about him and stuff, but, you know, he's just not in the band anymore, you know. But we got lucky with Joey, so. Yeah.
This is Joey Castillo, who used to be in Sugartooth, right?
Yeah, and before that, he used to be in punk bands, like Wasted Youth and some. Eerie and I are both from punk history,
yes,
so I get along with him really well. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he's a great guy.
We have a lot in common. Most of the bands I hate, he hates. You know, so it's
similar
really
styles, you know.
And most of the bands we like are pretty similar, so it's pretty easy. It couldn't be better. Actually, and he's a nice guy. He without slagging Chuck, I mean, he doesn't really have any personal, you know, he's just like a nice, normal, easy
well adjusted for a drummer, you know. It's very rare. I think we might have found one of the rare, well adjusted ones.
I don't know what it is with drummers, but just bands just traditionally don't really have good luck with drummers. I mean, I think in Sam Hain we went through like 2 or 3, and Misfits we had about 7. So I mean,
always like that. You know, everybody's got the same story about some drummer or something. You know?
Slayer's on about 3 or 4 now.
Right,
so
they've got a new drummer. I was just talking to them a few weeks ago, actually. I mean, just going back to Chuck though, the thing about Chuck that I always felt was that he was a very flamboyant person. He had a lot of presence on stage. Were you at all concerned that you were going to lose that side of it?
No, because actually people tell us Joey looks a lot better in the band, so.
You fit right in.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're going into the video for Mother very shortly, and I'd just like to sort of backtrack a little bit before we start talking about the 4 album. Obviously, you wrote that song back in 1988, and...
87.
So
before the album came out. A lot of people think just when the album comes out, that's when you wrote the song. No, you wrote it before.
Okay, but it's taken a number of years for that song to be a success, as it was for you, off Thrall, Demon Sweat Live. So what factors do you think finally contributed to that song being a success?
I've heard so many different things. Maybe that this band just stayed together long enough for people to catch up. A lot of people are scared of us, so that doesn't help. So maybe this time around they weren't so scared, or you know, whatever it is. I have no idea.
Do you think maybe that song was a little bit ahead of its time?
I guess it could, you know.
And of course you also had the fantastic live video to go with it as well, which I think drew a lot of attention to it.
Yeah, that's a really funny story because I was recording all the shows. Even when we were back in Europe that time we did that interview, I was recording all the shows and filming them. And then I wanted to film Irvine on Halloween, and they didn't even want us to do any of that filming, and it ended up being the video. So.
Well, it's a fantastic video, and we're going to show it to you right now. This is Mother 90s style. It's the Headbangers Ball bringing you exclusive coverage of the Danzig U.S. tour. We're coming to you from Phoenix in Arizona. We've got lots of Danzig videos on the way, Danzig live, a rare interview here with Glenn and Eerie. Now, a little bit earlier, guys, we did talk about the success of Mother, and I just want to carry on that theme a little bit. Did this sort of success, being in a long time coming, was that all the more satisfying to you guys, or were you a little bit frustrated that a whole new audience only knew Danzig because of that one song, and they didn't have a concept of the history of the band?
I don't necessarily know that they didn't have a concept of the history of the band. People ask that question all the time. Yeah, and it's just like, why should we be upset if people are finding out about our band? If we didn't want exposure, we wouldn't do records, and we wouldn't do videos, and we wouldn't go on tour. We would stay at home and play in the garage. So that's kind of a lot of bull. When bands are like, oh, we don't want, this and this, and well, don't do records and don't do videos and stay at home if you're really that anti all that stuff. So that's what I have to say to those bands. Can you give somebody the finger on the air here? Yeah, this is what I have to say to you bands, that are saying all that crap, Don't do records and don't do videos then. You're not fooling anybody,
But I think the thing about you guys was that you had a very, very strong fan base anyway, and it wasn't like an overnight success thing, was it? You're still going to have those fans even if, say, MTV America chooses not to play your next video.
That's what I always tell people. They accept you, they don't accept you. We're going to do it anyway. Whatever success we get, we're still going to do it, whether you buy it or anybody else buys it. Because we weren't waiting on it. And if it happens, great. If it doesn't, so what?
What he said.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, being in the spotlight with that, did it put any pressure on you when you came to start thinking about writing and recording the next album?
No, I had pretty much decided what kind of record I was writing anyway. Right. Totally, like everyone probably expected, Mother Part 2. That ain't gonna happen. And as a matter of fact, MTV America did refuse to play Until You Call in the Dark.
Yeah, I know.
I know. They were. At first they said the lyrics were satanic, and then they came back and said, no, the lyrics aren't satanic, but these muscle women are not allowed to be in the video.
No, not satanic.
So
something else. Get back to you on that.
Yeah.
Isn't that so frustrating for you though that people think that, because
doublespeak. It's typical of MTV America. So.
Well, of course, we're going to play you the new Danzig video very, very shortly. Talking about 4 though, Glenn, once again you wrote all the songs. Now, I'm intrigued about this. Why did the others not have the chance to contribute? Is it that you feel that you're the only person that has the true vision of Danzig?
No one bought me any songs.
Nobody said, hey, bro, listen to this. No, it was, I definitely liked the direction the songs were going already. It started to make me feel like, the way I did a few years ago, or certain things were just, touching on certain things. And I liked it, and it felt real easy. And the rest, John and Chuck just seemed to do everything that was needed, it was, and it felt good the whole time. We finished whole songs with like one, 2 tries, it was just all came out real cool. So, I mean, if I had something that was better than that, I might say something, but in my opinion, I didn't. Right. So,
A lot of the stuff later on was just stuff I had up here in my head. I would tell these guys the basics, and they'd look at me like, what? And then, after the basics are done, I would go in and add a lot of the other stuff, like the backwards song, Can't Speak.
Right.
That was just an experiment for me when I was trying to explain to Chuck, who was a drummer at the time, what to play to. He just looked at me and he didn't hear a beat in there, but I heard a beat in there, and I actually showed him the beat, and then he saw what I was thinking. And then later on, with a lot of the other songs, I mean, we had talked about it earlier. I said I'm going to bring back a very Sam Hain feel to this record, which we did on Thrall, on the 3 studio songs, and he was all for it, because personally, even around How the Gods Killed, we talked and said we missed a lot of that moody, Eerie kind of stuff in Eerie. Hey, I get that right.
No, it felt very right, you know, like the way it was before when we originally got together, you know. Whatever phases or elements we brought to it, we still wanted to kind of do what we do best, you know.
I mean, being devil's advocate here, some people might say that a band is when...
Devil's advocate, you owe me money.
That was a little pun there. But some people might say that a band is actually when all 4 members contribute and bring ideas to the table. So, I mean, that doesn't happen in the songwriting process for Danzig. Do you think that it's a band because of the live chemistry?
I've always said this before.
You say it for me.
Even though I write the songs, each guy brings, like you said, live, and even to the songs once you do it, their own little distinct thing.
Right.
Of course, I write all the songs, but I mean, in the Who, Townsend wrote all the songs, and no one ever asked him that question. It's
John Fogerty wrote almost everything.
Exactly, you know. So
it's a chemistry thing too, you know.
You've got 3 great musicians as well in the band as well, which I think is very important. Now we're going into the first video for Until You Call on the Dark. As we said,
but you know, that's also, it's like we might have 3 great musicians, but
I'm not great. Yeah.
I don't know that makes them great songwriters.
No.
I'm not saying I'm a great songwriter, but I'm saying, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I understand that. Yes, I can appreciate that. So we go into that video for brand new from Until You Call on the Dark. And as we said, this hasn't been played by MTV in America. We're playing it in Europe, as you know. Now, you didn't actually direct this clip, did you, Glenn?
Well, I brought some things to it like we always do. Rick and I always bring stuff to it, but I did have to edit it because it came in... needed editing.
Yes, it's quite outrageous, this video. A bit of a Jenny Torturer's theme here, I think. A bit of bondage going on. We like that. Anyway, here we go from the new Danzig album. Here we go, the first video, Until You Call on the Dark. And we'll talk to you guys some more a little bit later on after this event. Well, as you can see, I've still got Glenn and Eerie from Danzig with me, and we're talking about the new 4 album. A little bit earlier in the show, we saw the first video, Until You Call on the Dark, and I just want to touch on that again, you guys, because first video from an album is always kind of like an opening statement of intent kind of thing, and as you said, you've had problems getting the video played in the States and so on. Was there any kind of particular message in that Danzig hadn't compromised for this album, that you were still really feeling you know, a lot towards your hardcore fans?
Hardcore?
Yeah, your long time
bass fans. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like you said before, we do what we do, and if people like it, great, and if they don't, they can take a hike, you know.
Very polite there. We talk a little bit more about the songwriting process as well, because you touched on that a little earlier, but with you, Glenn, how does that work? Does the music inspire the lyrics, or do the lyrics inspire the music, or do you have them running parallel? Or
there's no rule or rhyme or reason to it. Sometimes I'll have a lyric, sometimes I'll have a melody and no lyric, sometimes I'll write the actual chord progressions, I mean, and it could be on guitar or piano, sometimes it's just the thought in my head. You know, I don't restrict myself to any one way, because if I restrict myself, then I'll be cutting off an avenue for a good idea.
Absolutely.
You know.
I mean, how do you then contribute, how do you then communicate these ideas to the other 3 guys?
I can pretty much play any instrument.
Yes, because you played guitar and piano on the album.
Yeah, and pretty much anything. So, I mean, drums, even on old Sam Hain record and some of the Mesa records I played drums. I mean, it's...
Yeah, you can also come in and say, hum stuff to people, and they'll, you know, catch up on it too. You know, if you just got it when you just got out of the car, you know, or something, you can say, oh wait, I got this, and, you know, go like that. I've seen you do that with guitar parts and stuff, you know. It's real easy.
So basically, you're all on the same wavelength anyway, so they can...
Well, not at first, but then...
Sometimes.
Sometimes we are, and sometimes it clicks. There's some songs that just really click, and they're done, like, really quick. And then there's some songs in the studio I have to go back and listen what's wrong with it and take it apart and put it back together. And some songs are very laborious and some aren't. Some are just really...
I mean, for your part, Eerie, do you feel that you're able to stretch yourself as a musician?
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I think I am, but I think that basically whenever, like especially with this record, the songs, I would sit there and just listen, see what was going on, you know. And if he didn't say, hey, I want this here, I was kind of like, just play what you feel. And things came out really good, you know. So I don't have to stretch that much. I just have to do what's important for this band, you know. And
Basically, you found a system that works for you.
Yeah, well, you know, it goes back to songwriting. A lot of people like to show off in songs, and they forget it's a band, and you're doing, each person has a part, and for them it's just this ego trip to, you know, show off how good or how fast they can play their instrument. That's a load of rubbish. That's a load of bull. That's what me and him, like, we're in punk bands for, to get rid of that crap. And, you know, I've always said that, you know, all the speed metal and thrash metal bands just ripped off hardcore and put whiny vocals and leads in there, long, boring leads. I still feel that way.
No, I agree with you, because some bands can get very self-indulgent, and it actually takes away from the music. If it's simple and it works, that's all you need. So this being your 4th studio album, what steps do you take to keep things creatively challenging?
Lots of liquor.
not that much.
Oh, you're the one. Okay, no, that was a joke. Just change things up every now and then. Have as much fun as you can. Keep it light. You know.
Yeah, this one was easy. Last album, the 3rd album, was done. Basics were done in like 4 or 5 days. Everybody was real casual. You know, we knew the stuff. We played it really well. Got a lot of stuff on one take. It was the same with this. You know, this was even easier. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the stuff was still kind of moving around, and while you were in the studio, we're playing all the parts and putting them together and stuff. And this was probably the easiest record we ever did, at least from the basic standpoint. You know.
Yeah. See, he gets to go home after he does his parts. I gotta stay there and add all the layers.
Usually I'm there.
He comes down sporadically, but he moved back east, so he wasn't living out in California anymore, and
he said, "Get out of here."
It was
now.
basically, you know, me, and then if I needed John to come in and do something, or if I could play it myself, great. But if it's a lead, I'd rather John play the leads, unless it's just me bending notes and ripping strings apart and stuff. And so for him and Chuck, it was easy. They're done. They never saw him again, pretty much.
Yeah, I was in the mix and stuff on the last album all the time.
Yeah, anyways, that's true.
Every day
That's
I
true.
was down there, at least for a couple hours.
So you missed the best part, driving Rick crazy. That's the best
Yeah,
part.
but I didn't need that anymore. I drove Rick crazy enough, you know.
And it's vice versa. Rick driving everyone else crazy, so it's funny though. I had a great time doing this record, you know.
Great. I think that shows on the album as well, comes across. Okay, well, we have got lots more time to talk to Glenn, Eerie and the rest of the band, and we will be doing that a little bit later on in the show, and actually we will be talking about Rick Rubin's role in the production of the 4 album a little bit later on. But right now the guys have to go down to the gig, tonight's gig in Phoenix, Arizona, for their sound check. So we're going to let them go off down there, and we'll be joining them a little bit later on to talk some more. And taking us into our next short break, we are going to show you some exclusive footage of Danzig live on their US tour. So stay tuned as the Headbangers Ball Danzig US tour special continues. We'll see you after the break. Here's Danzig live. Welcome back to Headbangers Ball. We're coming to you from Phoenix in Arizona, bringing you an exclusive and rare interview with Danzig. And as you know, we've joined the guys on their US tour, and now we're backstage down at the gig, the Mesa Amphitheatre. And as you can see, I've got John joining me now, and Glenn's still with us. So we're going to talk a little bit more about the 4 album. That's what we're here for. And actually, Glenn, first question's going out to you. On the album, we talked a little bit about this earlier. You played guitar and piano on the album.
I don't know, like the way I play guitar, he looks at me and just goes, and you know, if it's just the strumming stuff, but then I do the thing where I bend the neck and push the guitar back, and
He likes to do the out of tune stuff.
yeah, I like to make I make it moan and say, put me down, and he, you know,
I make it scream.
he makes it sing, and I make it go, ouch.
Right, but I mean, I was just wondering that why you don't want to play guitar in the live situation.
John is the guitar player,
Right.
and on stage, that's how I feel. And he's the guitar player, I'm the singer. And on stage, I have to be, you know, free to sing and kind of, you know.
Yeah.
He'd get in his way.
Yeah, he would get in my way too, it's true. And also, he's just a 10 times better guitar player than I am, so, you know.
Thank you.
So, yeah, that was a nice plug.
But
there.
the thing he did on the record, the stuff I like was the sitar guitar.
Yeah.
That he did was cool.
We did some of that too.
Well, a little bit, but you know, he came up with the idea, and then the It sounded like you use your old Les Paul in the beginning of Little Whip or something.
You know
with a microphone, not the guitar was not plugged in. It sounded like they put a mic right in front of the guitar strings. Like he was sitting at home in his living room playing is what it sounded like. I've heard that before.
And it's those same strings are like
10 years old. I changed the strings on that in the studio a couple years ago. So
that was on Thrall, remember? He's like, I gotta change your strings. He takes my guitar and he goes and restrings it. Yeah, it's just,
All right. Because also I wanted to talk a little bit about Rick Rubin's role on the album, because when I spoke to Slayer a few weeks ago, I asked him about what he contributed to their album, and they said not a whole hell of a lot. So what was his perspective on Four?
I think it's a little different for us. Rick is he's a good guy to bounce stuff off of. If I didn't think we needed him down there, I would just produce it, or hire an outside producer. He brings just a lot of ideas sometimes, and different ways of mixing things or sending things through the board and bringing them back. And it's always good to have somebody there to keep your ego in check. Do you know what I mean?
What I see, besides that, like Rick seems to focus on basic tracking with the drums, make sure all the drum beats have got the right feel. A lot of times he'll come in, what are you doing? Oh, I'm listening for the feel. He wants to make sure the feel is right, the drums have to be perfect. And the guitar stuff and a lot of the overdubs, he kind of does his own trip or works with other people. And then when it comes back to the vocals and the mixing stuff, that's when he and Glenn really start nitpicking and making sure every single note, every line is right the way they want it. And that's when he's talking about the interaction and the ideas. He throws out a lot of stuff then, because he's trying to perform. At the same time, you can't think of everything.
No, that's right. So it's good to have that outside perspective.
And in some of the early arranging in the studio, we were still putting some songs together, and they just both sit there on acoustic guitars and go, "What about this? What about this? What about that?" So he helped there as well.
Good. I mean, would you describe him as your mentor because he's been with the band, signed you back
in some ways, and some. I mean, there. Of course, in any kind of relationship like that, there's times where you go back and forth, and you're like, I'm gonna kill him, or whatever. But then, I would have to say overall, he has been a great help. Yeah, I think so.
The first album, I mean, we didn't even know each other.
Really?
When we were still playing, and we had to start somewhere and get some sort of sound happening. And he took his, you and Eerie had been together, but Chuck and I, and playing, he made it, at least he made it sound like a band.
Yeah.
In the beginning it took a while, and then actually probably not until the second record we really hit it, but he did an awful lot to get things rolling the first record.
Good, okay. Well, we'll talk to John and Glenn some more, but we've got some more music on the way for you right now, and this video has been chosen for the show by the Danzig guys. I'm sure you'll approve of it. Well worth seeing again, a brilliant video from Tool, from their album Undertow. We're going to show you a look at Prison Sex. Headbangers Ball bringing you exclusive coverage of the Danzig U.S. tour, and you can see up there Elvis poster providing a nice vibe here in the dressing room backstage in Phoenix. And as you can see, John and Glenn are still here, and in this segment, guys, I'd like to touch a little bit on the lyrics. So obviously you need to talk to Glenn about that, but I'd value your perspective as well, John, if being in the band for a long while and seeing changes in lyrics and so on. And Glenn, some common themes on the album are, I would say, please correct me if you disagree.
I will. Don't worry.
I'm sure you will. Are sexual and personal power, and also you seem to be quite interested in kind of death on this album as well. Would you say that this album reveals a lot about you as a person and your inner thoughts?
Not just me, about the world. Of course about me because I'm singing it, but sometimes a lot of people don't understand that a songwriter is a storyteller.
Yeah.
It's literature of a sort, and you can put yourself in another person and sing as them. And it's so many times people just don't even understand lyricists that way. And so this record, spirituality, inner strength, just standing up against oppression, just each person themselves, personal freedom, which then means if it goes on down the line to each person, everyone's free. The more people think that that's impossible, it really isn't. It just means that everybody stands up and tells whoever the government, or you guys have the Queen and I don't know how many countries over there, but just telling them basically
leave me alone.
So I mean, everybody has these same problems all over the world.
In some other way, yeah. Of course,
in
everyone
some
has to
way.
deal with death. A song like "Going Down to Die" is just about making your peace. You know you're gonna die, but this is more like a person who actually has found out they're gonna die and can feel it or senses it, and they're just making their peace and just getting ready. It's part of the whole cycle of this world and the universe.
So, I mean, do you think then that people should always question things, whether it be issues about the government or the environment?
Well, I don't think people necessarily should. I mean, or have to. Maybe they should, but I don't know if they have to. It's like telling people what they should or shouldn't do. I don't do that. I just know what I like singing about, and I like to raise people's interest in things, and then if they're so exactly, and if they're so inclined later on, maybe what I've said is a springboard for them to learn. I like nothing better when we do a show and afterwards we sign on the bus all the autographs and stuff, and people tell me that because of me or because of us, the song or whatever, they read now and they've been learning about all this different stuff and they see other worlds out there.
That must be
cool.
one of the most satisfying things about being a songwriter, for sure, to get that feedback.
It is.
Songs like Son of a Morning Star and Let It Be Captured, I felt that they revealed a softer, more sensitive and caring side of you. Would you think
that's really great, because Son of the Morning Star is about Satan.
Oh.
But there you go. If I didn't tell you that, and someone else, if I didn't tell them that, but it's basically about a more biblical Satan. It's about, here's a guy who's like saying, what did I do? Once I was sitting, next to God. It's a lament for sure, and that's really what it's about.
We have certain affections for Satan.
Yes, I know, but
we understand his plight,
Yeah. But I mean, that song "Let It Be Captured" is probably the nearest thing you've come to like a love song. Would you agree?
What about Sistina's? Then Blood and Tears.
Yeah. People, you see, we get pigeonholed in this whole Satanist thing. It's like if I sing about Satan, I'm a Satanist. But if I sing about God, I'm not a Christian or religious at all. It's only and it's like if I sing about Satan, I'm responsible for Satan. That I created him or something. Well, excuse me, your God created Satan. I had nothing to do with it. It's like I sing about things that drive people to do the things they do. It's God or Satan, God is responsible for more, deaths and wars than Satan is. Religion.
Definitely. I want to talk about that in more depth a little bit later on, actually. But I mean, why do you think that Danzig has been so misunderstood by the media in general? Do you think it's that they don't look further than the song titles or whatever?
Yeah, I think a good part of it. Word of mouth, people say Danzig and they see a little bit of the choice symbolism that we use, and that's it. They turn it right off. Some people only takes a second.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's more deep-rooted than that. I think that we pose a problem to them if these issues are to be dealt with.
It's definitely a contrasting view from what people are used to in society.
Yeah, the other thing is that we're pretty much, I guess, I would consider the truth is subversive. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying anything that isn't actually in books, documented, and this is actually the way it was. And because I say that, I'm the troublemaker. I didn't write history. And people who try to rewrite history, to me, are the heretics.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, it needs to be said, because, organised religion has caused wars, as you said.
Well, yeah, you live a lot closer to the Middle East than we do, so...
Well, we're going to talk to the Danzig guys a lot more, but we have another break on the way now, and if you can bear with me, guys, we had a very special event in Europe this past week, and that was the MTV European Music Awards, taking place for the first time
Wasn't that
in
Diana
Berlin, and right now we are going to show you a little report from the European Music Awards, and this is brought to us by Dave Mustaine of Megadeth. Of course, Megadeth played at the Marquee Club in Berlin earlier this week, courtesy of MTV, and he was there at the awards and he filed this report for us. So here's a look at the MTV European Music Awards, the first ever ceremony held in Berlin, and then after the break we'll be back with more from Danzig. So stay tuned as the Headbangers Ball Danzig U.S. tour special continues over to Europe and Dave Mustaine. Hi there, you're back with Headbangers Ball. We're backstage in Phoenix, Arizona with Danzig, and let me just quickly tell you that we just saw the new video from Richie Kotzen. That was his debut video. Remember him from Poison? And that was the title track of his new album, Motherhead's Family Reunion. So there you go, Richie Kotzen stepping out into the solo limelight. So we've got John and Glenn here from Danzig, and they're laughing their heads off at that one. Richie Kotzen from Poison.
Go Rich.
Absolutely.
Go Richie.
Pretty good actually. Cool. It's pretty good. But we talk a little bit more because
I didn't nod my head, yes.
we were talking a little bit earlier how Danzig has been misunderstood and misrepresented by the press a lot. There does seem to be a lot of intrigue and mystery surrounding the band, and you haven't been doing many interviews lately and so on. Do you think that 4 kind of continues that keeps this air of mystery going?
You know what? The people that follow the band, they know what the real deal is.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not just here in America, that's also in Europe.
Yes.
And Japan, everywhere. They know what the real deal is. As far as not doing a lot of interviews, it's a combination of, I'm tired of being misquoted, people making stuff up, you know, why even do an interview with me? Just write it on your own.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You don't need me. You have...
preconceived ideas.
Yeah, they have an agenda that they want to achieve, and whether I'm there or not, they're going to do it anyway. And also, I mean, I don't really like talking about myself that much.
You get burnt out on it.
You know...
Same questions, try and change up the answers a little bit.
Yeah, I get tired of talking about it. I let these guys do it now, and I'm sure they're going to come to me in like 2-3 months and go...
He's done a lot of, you know, he has done a lot of press recently, so I understand why he wants to take a break from it.
I let these guys have the headaches now. You know, they're coming and go, look at this, I never said this. And I'll say, nah.
It happens.
Yes.
But at the same time, a lot of the questions, you know, like you say, people that don't dig in very deeply to the lyrics and the music and really sit themselves down alone and try and understand what's going on. If they get it, then the light goes on, you know, they understand. And then it's much easier to interact with them. If they don't get it, or if they get thrown an assignment, then a lot of times they come in cold, and I know right off the bat whether they've even heard of us, or when they say, which one are you, and things like that, I'm going to go, here we go again.
The better one is, are you the satanic one?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a question.
When they start off that way, you know, then it's sort of like you have an idea what the interview is going to be like. So you either play along or you just leave.
Well, I hope you're not going to leave me on this interview.
No, this is... It could be worse. It could be Ricky Rackman.
Now, I mean, you're out on the road with Typo Negative at the moment, and I'm just wondering, what other bands around at the moment do you feel an affinity with, if any? It's
not so much that. It's a lot of times when we get ready to go out on the road, we look at bands we think are not getting exposure that they should,
right,
and that people should be hearing. When we took Zombie out, we did a double bill a long time ago with Soundgarden.
Right.
COC. I mean, Genitorturous, I know you don't like them, but it's a band I thought, you know, people should see what they're doing. And just stuff like that. And so I'd known about Typo for a while, and they get better with each record.
Yeah.
That's a good sign. And so that was the tour for America and Godflesh.
Great. Well, I think it's a great lineup. Okay. Well, we've got to go into our next short break right now. But after that, we are going to be talking to the guys some more. And in fact, in the next segment, I'd like to sort of talk to Glenn about his interests outside of Danzig, because contrary to popular belief, I don't think you live and breathe Danzig 24 hours a day. You've got some other things that interest you. So
he goes through periods where that's all he does is live Danzig.
I mean,
we all do.
It's kind of me. I mean, it is me. What you see, I mean, that's me. You know, it's not like I put it on and take it off when I go home.
Yes, I understand that, but there are some other things that interest you.
There are no colors in his closet, okay?
Yeah, black only. All right, well, we're going to go into that break right now, and we're going to show you a little bit more exclusive live performance. Danzig live on tour in America, and you won't see this anywhere else except Headbangers Ball. So enjoy it, and we'll see you after the break with more from Danzig. There you go, that was another video chosen for you by tonight's special guests, Danzig. That was a track from White Zombie, who have just started work on their second album. We're all looking forward to that, I know. And you're back with Headbangers Ball. As you know, we're out on the road in the US with Danzig, bringing you exclusive coverage of the US tour. And I've got Glenn on his own now, backstage at the venue, at the Mesa Amphitheatre in Phoenix. And I'd like to talk to you a little bit, Glenn, about your interests outside of Danzig, because I know the band is a very time-consuming thing for you, because you're not only involved in obviously performing and writing, but you did the album artwork and you've directed videos and so on. But how do you like to spend your spare time outside of the band? What little spare time you probably have?
Sleeping, but that doesn't happen. So what I do is I just started a publishing company, comics and books. It's called Verotic, and I get to work with lots of great people like Frank Frazetta, who's a legend, at least here in America.
But he did the Captain America.
No, Frank Frazetta, that's Jack Kirby you're talking about.
Right.
He just passed away. No, Frank Frazetta redefined characters like Tarzan and Conan. His paintings, he does paintings, and he did The Death Dealer, which we'll be doing as not just a book, but also a movie, which I'm probably going to direct.
Because you collect comics, don't you?
Yeah, this is not very comic oriented. The comics I have, there are no costume superheroes or anything like that. It's all pretty much sex and violence and barbarians and very primal stuff. It's not demons. It's all that kind of stuff. You know, it's not like this. There's no Batman or Superman or Spider-Man or anything like that. There's nothing like that whatsoever. And it's probably definitely geared more to 13 and up. And actually a British artist, he did the cover for Thrall, Simon Beasley, who's kind of been very influenced by Frank Frazetta. He's doing the interior to the Death Dealer book. Yeah.
And what about reading? Do you have time to read books and so on?
Here and there, yeah. I take books out on the road with me all the time. I buy, The great thing about America is when we're on the road, you can find time to go down to used bookstores, everything, and just root through everything and pull out that little treasure here and there.
That's very relaxing in itself, actually, isn't it? What about...
I like that stuff, going and looking for something, because when you find something, that's the payoff. It's it's gratifying.
And also you like to keep fit as well, don't you? And that must be really important anyway if you're on a very grueling tour like this.
It is. It's real important because you can wear yourself down very quickly, and we don't really just stand there on stage either. We're kind of all over the place, and the songs are pretty, there's no guitar solo or drum solo or bass solo where everyone just goes backstage and relaxes or gets their hair blow dried or, some of these other bands do, if you know the bands I'm talking about. So we don't do that. It's just we go out there, we go crazy, we get sweaty, and that's it, and you get very drained. All the minerals when you sweat, they're just like out of you. I mean, so it's very easy.
What sort of music do you like to listen to when you're at home?
I listen to all kinds of music. Everything from classical to like Alice in Chains and, you name it.
Because I know that you identify with the likes of Roy Orbison. I know that you wrote a song for him. Why do you identify with some of these sort of really top vocalists?
Because they're top vocalists. They're great. Roy Orbison, I just got to write a song for Johnny Cash. Great. It's on his new album. It's called 13. These are just people that are real. It's no bull. They write songs, and whatever they write about. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. And it's a lot of the stuff they write about is in some ways a lot about what I write about, especially someone like Johnny Cash. And Roy Orbison is always a lament, usually. So, I mean, that's the stuff I like. I like real songs that really say something. I really don't like pop music that much. I mean, there's a place for it, obviously, but I just don't choose to go that direction.
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much for those insights into your life outside of Danzig. It's very interesting. And we're going to have some more music for you now on Headbangers Ball. And stay tuned, because we'll be talking to the guys from Danzig lots more right after these videos. You've reached the final part of Headbangers Ball. It's our 2.5 metal marathon coming to you from Phoenix, Arizona on the Danzig U.S. tour. I hope you've been enjoying the show. We've got a few more moments to talk to Glenn, and I'd like to introduce you also now to new Danzig drummer Joey Castillo, who we said earlier used to be in a band called Sugartooth. You've seen that video on the show as well. So welcome, Joey.
Thank you.
Congratulations for getting the gig
Thanks
in
a lot.
Danzig. Must be fantastic. And I understand that you had to kind of integrate into the band pretty sharpish, because you had some shows on Halloween and so on.
Yeah, well, actually, I think the week I got the gig, there was a show like within 10 days at the Whiskey. We did a surprise show, kind of free, you know.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yes, I heard about that.
Oh, you
Sounded
heard
quite
about it?
outrageous, yeah.
It was pretty funny because I see he remembers the punk stuff because he was in the bands when I was in Eerie also, and they never let punk bands play on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood ever, right?
Yeah,
they
yeah,
come
it's
out
been a
with
long,
Billy clubs
long
and
time.
everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have that in England, but they actually beat your head in America. You know, the cops.
Bad
So,
situation with the
yeah,
cops.
so it was really funny because we did this surprise show for free at the Whiskey. And of course, 700 more people than could fit in the place showed up. And as soon as we played started playing the first song, they all ran out into Sunset Boulevard and started
Had a mosh pit
slamming.
going.
Yeah, and
Wow,
it was
sounds
funny. Like
brilliant.
all these, like I don't know, like 15 sheriffs. The sheriffs are worse than the cops, so they all came
Right,
out. It was. I wish I could have been outside watching it.
Yeah,
It was.
yeah.
It was.
I wish we'd had a camera there. That sounds
Oh, yeah,
brilliant.
it was
Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, Joey, for your part, you're following in the footsteps of quite a kind of flamboyant drummer. How did you approach your gig in Danzig?
Blazing a new trail.
Blazing a new trail.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm definitely not, you know, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm not trying to replace Chuck, you know, because
No.
Chuck was definitely, he was a big influence on me when I was starting to drum.
Oh,
you
that's
know.
nice.
You know, I looked up, you know, when I was a young kid in the punk scene, just starting to drum. He was like, one of my favorite drummers, you know. And he's a great drummer, and like I say, I'm not trying to, you know, just have anybody forget about him, you know, because that's not going to happen. I'm trying to add something to the band, you know, which I hope is my flavor and everything, you know. But then, you know, still keep the band, not, you know, take it to something where it's just completely different, because Danzig definitely has a formula,
Yeah.
has a sound,
Yeah.
and you know,
He fits right in with that.
I think it's
that
going to work out.
formula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it didn't work, because we tried out a lot of people, and we're like, and then when he came down, it was just, I mean, I looked.
And you know when that
at John.
happens, don't you?
Yeah,
It
I just looked
clicks.
at one of our managers, John, was there, and I just looked at him, and you know, I mean, it was, and a blind person
Yeah.
can see it,
Yeah.
which sounds impossible, but it was, I mean,
No, it's great.
the ears tell you everything, and it was just natural. It was nice.
Yeah, I love it.
I mean, Danzig is a band that spends a lot of time on the road. You toured with Metallica earlier in the summer. You know, what are your feelings about Europe? Because you haven't been over to Europe very much. What are your feelings about coming to Europe and the European audiences?
We like the European audiences. It's hard for us because, of course, no one speaks your language, you know. Whereas in Europe, most people are you know, they're German and they speak a little English, or they, you know, or they're Dutch and they speak a little English. Here in America, it's pretty much they speak English, you know, and the only people that speak anything other than English are like Mexican or Japanese or, you know, or Chinese, who have to, because they have to integrate and thrive in the society. So, and I think it's kind of like that in England a lot. There's not a lot of English people that speak German, or, you know. So it's kind of tough. And then the food thing is a problem too. You get very spoiled here in America. I can just walk outside right now and we can get what, Japanese, Mexican, Indian, Thai,
Chinese,
anywhere, you know,
right
or just American, like hamburgers. Europe still has not figured out how to make a hamburger, and it's the easiest thing to make. It
Right.
is so simple. It's just ground beef. You put it on fire.
Throw
You
some
cook
cheese
it.
on it.
It's like caveman primitive. It's so simple, but
Well,
it's,
next time we speak to you, we'll do a cooking session or something.
Right,
We
it's
have
so
Danzig's
easy.
Guide to Hamburgers.
it's easy, right?
Hey, I mean,
Yeah, grilled
you
chicken.
can do it in your
same thing.
backyard.
Yeah, we do. You just
Yeah,
take-
yeah.
I think next time we come to Europe, we're gonna bring like a hibachi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
So the question to end on is, when are you going to come to Europe? Because you're very, very popular in Europe. Danzig Mother video was one of the popular videos of the year for us.
I always knew we had a following in Germany, but everywhere else, I think it's you know, it's great. It's wild. I mean, I'm looking forward to coming back. We just did this festival last year in Eindhoven.
Dynamo, yeah.
And it was amazing. We went out in front of roughly, I guess, about 100,000 people,
Yes.
and just, it was incredible.
Well, I hope that will encourage you to come back. So maybe you're going to return in 95?
Yeah, we'll be there probably around May, I think.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll keep you posted on that for when Danzig are returning to Europe. I'm looking forward to that, I have to say, and I'm very much looking forward to the show tonight as well. I feel very privileged to be here, actually, in this fantastic arena and so on.
It's just, you know, what we always do is just strip down, the band goes out. Like I said, no guitar solos, drum solos, any of that stuff to waste people's money or
frills.
time. It's just the band playing their music.
Playing out.
Great.
Yeah.
Great, that's the way it should be. So just to finish off, Glenn, as we're not going to be seeing you in Europe till June next year, summer 95, May.
I think it's like April, May.
Is there any message that you'd like to give the fans in Europe to keep them going until then?
Thanks for your support. What can I tell you? You know, we appreciate it. We'll see you at the show. If you know, decide you're going to show up, if you think we're worth the money, then thank you.
Okay. Well, that's great. So thanks very much to Glenn and the rest of the band.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. I wish we had more time because I've got about 20 more questions, and we'll have to save them up for next time when you come to Europe. So I'm looking forward to that. Many thanks to everybody and all your people and your management. That's been great. Thanks very much. So there you go. That was a little taster of what you can expect from Danzig when they come to Europe in the summer next year. It's going to come around sooner than you think, and as I said, we will keep you posted on Danzig's plans to return to Europe. And that just about concludes tonight's edition of Headbangers Ball. I do hope you've enjoyed this exclusive coverage of the Danzig American Tour. I've certainly enjoyed being here, and we're going to finish now in the best way possible, and that is with another live performance from Danzig from Phoenix, Arizona. So we're signing off now. Next week I'll be back in the studio, so I'll be getting back off the road, going back into the studio with another show next week. So we'll all sign off now.
You're on tour, huh?
Yeah, I have been, yeah. So we'll all say goodbye from Phoenix, and we'll just leave you tonight with a little bit of Danzig live. I'll see you next week, and you'll see Glenn and co in summer 95, so watch out for that. In the meantime, here's that live performance. Bye-bye.